This is the MLW Radio Network.
Welcome to the Mind of the Meanie, your weekly peek into the world according to former WWE and ACW wrestler, the Blue Meanie. We'll cover wrestling, music, movies, sports, and lots of useless knowledge all contained in the Mind of the Meanie. I'm Josh Shernoff, and he is the Blue Meanie, and today is a special episode Meanie, because today is a full AMA Ask Meanie Anything.
I feel like this is like a special edition, like Golden Girls episode.
That's what we're striving for here.
Yeah, me and Mrs. Meanie we binge watch the Golden Girls every night, and last night, like every episode's like, without commercials, like 20 minutes. And we're watching this episode, we're like, man, this is long. And we looked at it, and it was just like a special edition of the Golden Girls that they made. They instead of like a half hour, they went at like 60-minute Broadway on it.
Oh wow!
So I was like, oh no, well we're gonna have our own special episode. We're recording tomorrow.
Yep.
So this is a very special edition of Mind of the Meanie. Break glass in case of an emergency episode of Mind of the Meanie. Yeah.
So again, to fill everybody in on what's happening here.
When the water breaks, the glass breaks.
Yeah. So we've got a due date for my third child, and it is 2 weeks from now. From as we're recording this on June 6th. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh man, this crazy thing just happened in the world of wrestling, why aren't they talking about it? Well, that's why we recorded the, the June 8th episode we recorded yesterday on June 5th. And now we're recording this Ask Meanie Anything episode. We're going to get a bunch of really great questions in here. We have some awesome questions from the Pod Squad. But we're getting these in basically so when the baby comes, we know that we're still going to be able to bring you an episode without having to go, oh man, how are we going to do this? Especially because of the quarantine situation. When I go with my wife into the hospital, I am not allowed to leave or I can't come back. So I'm going to be, and we thought about, hey, maybe we could do like a baby Shernoff run-in. And we, just do it straight from the hospital. But I thought that was not going to be good for my marriage. So maybe it's just better that we do this ahead of time.
Yes. And, And what's cool about this is it sounds like a joke, but it's serious. We go into this not knowing a clue of what we're going to say. Yeah. You read the intro and that's it. But what's cool about this is, if we're doing straight Ask Meanie Anything throughout the whole thing, it's like we get to have like this outside influence of how the show's going to go, and it's a little bit. I dig it. It's refreshing. So you don't know what's you know as you read it, but I don't know what's coming. So I'm excited. I'm excited about this. This should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Some really good questions, and it's always interesting to hear your take on this stuff and to see where that goes. We don't know where we're going to go with this, and if this is a success, this first AMA episode, maybe that's something that we'll do down the line when it's not an in case of emergency break water or whatever. So there's a new T-shirt that my wife will not be thrilled about. So. No. Let's begin. It is time to Ask Meanie Anything.
It's time to Ask Meanie Anything.
This first question comes from Brett. Brettley 916. He asked, what is Bill Alfonso up to nowadays? I never see him at conventions or on podcasts. Do you have any good Bill stories that you can share? He was such an incredible character that is often overlooked. Great question. So it's kind of like a two-part question there. What's he up to nowadays, and do you have any stories? So first of all, do you know what he's up to nowadays?
I just reconnected with Bill not too long ago. Me, him, and Joel Gertner worked on a project together like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and he looks fantastic. He's a proud grandfather now. He's a grandfather, and it's kind of given him like an extra boost of energy in his life.
He was always such a mellow person.
No,
to begin with. He really needed that extra boost of energy.
Yeah, Daddy. Dude, he. I don't know if it's. I think this is true. He does work with flipping, literally flipping cars, but he buys cars.
Him and Braun Strowman just walk around flipping cars.
Yeah, Braun, Daddy, Braun.
There's a T-shirt in there too, and I'm trying to formulate it right now in my head.
Yeah.
All right.
He'll go to like car auctions, buy cars, clean them up, fix them up, and
cool.
I think he resells them. And kind of like how people buy houses, flip houses, which I'd like to see Braun do that. But yeah, he that's. I think that's what he does. It could have changed over the time. I see him at conventions all the time. And sometimes, I can't believe I say this in 2020, but every now and then me and Bill will text each other. But Bill's a fucking great guy, man. And Daddy, anytime you're in Florida, we'll go and have lunch. And any good Bill Alfonso stories? Do
you have one? I was gonna say I have one while you're thinking.
You do. I got one, but you do you first.
Yeah, mine's not anything crazy, but it was just
stop underselling yourself.
No, well, so this was I want to say Hardcore Heaven 99 in Percy, New York. I went backstage with Bill Apter to help him out at the pay-per-view he was taking.
Fix his hair.
Yeah, just to make sure, just to hold down the comb over. But yeah, literally I was like carrying his bags in and like stuff like that, but it was just awesome of him to bring me along. And so I'm backstage this is the first ever ECW pay-per-view I was backstage at, first ever ECW event I was backstage at. And that's actually how some people might know I have a triangular piece of the table from the Rob Van Dam Jerry Lynn match that Van Dam like handed to me after the show was over. I guess they were cleaning out under the ring, and and it was this like triangular piece that apparently Van Dam has a scar from it. He was telling me that like a year ago. So I had this piece of table, and this is getting off topic, but I had this piece of table that they gave me, and I just held onto it for like 20 years. I didn't know, what to do with it. And then I finally saw that Van Dam and Jerry Lynn were both going to be at WrestleCon last year. And I knew I was going to be, and I knew it was New York, so I was going to be driving. Because when I'd seen Jerry Lynn at StarCast, he's like, "Oh, man, you should have brought the table. I could sign it. We'd take a picture." And I was like, "Yeah, man, but I flew. This is in Chicago. I can't fly with a giant piece of a table." So I threw it in my car. I brought it, and I have this awesome picture of me and Van Dam and Jerry Lynn holding the table, and the two of them
That's
signed
awesome.
it. So yeah, now I have it in my office, like on display with the picture. So I'll have to share that at some point. But it like for 20 years, anyone would like say to me like, "What are you doing with this table?" And had it been any other kind of shape, I don't think you would have been able to. People would have believed it. But it was very clearly this triangular piece that flipped up and hit RVD in the face and like busted open his lip. But anyway, on that show, or prior to that show, Bill Alfonso came up to me and asked if I could get RVD a cup of coffee. And he's like, "Hey, Daddy, can you get Van Dam some coffee?" And I'm like, yeah, this is terrible, Bill Alfonso. I'm just half-assing it. But I'm like, yeah. I'm like, sure. I'm 15 years old at this time. I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And he's like, ask Van Dam what he wants. Van Dam says, lots of cream, lots of sugar. So right off the bat, remember in the, whenever you're listening to this, a few episodes, for us, it was yesterday, we talked about the coffee cream ratio and the cream and sugar ratio. I was panicked because he goes, lots of cream, lots of sugar. To me, what does that mean? You know,
Right.
what does that mean? Am I going to come back and he's going to go, what the hell is this? This is, I can't drink this crap. Or he's going to come back and go, I told you lots of cream. What is this? This is, just like so I was a little nervous about it. And I went and ran around the entire building. There was no coffee in the building anywhere. So now I'm like, well, how do I come back? And like, so I came back and I go to like Bill Alfonso. I was like so nervous. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I checked everywhere. I went upstairs. I checked all around. Like, there's no coffee anywhere. He's like, oh, that's fine. And I remember I was like, and it like just completely moved on. RVD forgot about it, I guess. But I always remembered that, like, that's, like I said, it's not a big Bill Alfonso story, but it was really the only interaction I've ever had with him. And I just remember it was like the most nerve-wracking experience of my entire life. And when I came back, he was just like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter. So, did I buy you enough time to think of a Bill Alfonso story?
Well, Bill's smart, man. He, and this isn't the story yet, but like, I want to put him over. Not that I need to put him over. He's already over. But like when WCW and New Japan were having that joint show, I think it was Flair versus Tatsumi Fujinami for the world belt.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
And Bill Alfonso was the referee.
Yes,
and,
I know what she is. Yeah.
And on his own, he went and got a referee shirt done that had both the American flag and Japanese flag. And when he put it on and the office saw it, they're like, oh, man, that's like the Japanese office was like, oh, very, very good. Very good. And, I learned from Bill Alfonso over the years, whatever you do, always do something to change up your look a little bit. Mm-hmm. So nothing drastic, but just something a little different. So then when people look at you, they go, what's different? Yeah. And then by the time they figure it out, they're enthralled in what you're already doing kind of thing,
Yeah. I always wondered why but always wished that he would have gone when they relaunched ECW, the WWE ECW. One thing that I just thought was like really missing from the package with Van Dam was I thought that was the perfect opportunity to have Bill Alfonso back. I know he was there for the one night stand, but I would have loved to have just seen him back and blowing that whistle. And I could imagine Vince McMahon on a headset hearing that whistle just from the stories I've heard of Vince McMahon. I've never met him, but I could imagine.
Well, I watched Vince McMahon watch the Masato Tanaka Mike Awesome match from not in your house. One night stand. I knew it was one of those three word names from One Night Stand, and he was just like, oh God, when they're like hitting each other with chairs and putting each other through tables. But yeah, one time, okay. One night, there's we had already been kicked out of the Travel Lodge, the Cylinder of Sin in South Philly, and for you to get kicked out of that fucking hotel, I mean, what the fuck did you do?
Right.
That hotel was so bad, but it's still there. We started staying at the Holiday Inn on Packer Ave. It was called Holiday Inn Stadium because it was right near all the Eagles, but it was near Vet Stadium, and then the Phillies ballpark, Citizens Bank Park, when they made that, in Lincoln Financial Field. So it's always been Holiday Inn Stadium. And so we started staying there, and Bill goes to check in at the counter, check into the hotel, and there's some guy, and I mean, there's wrestlers everywhere, all this and that. Some guy who's also checking in decides to fucking mouth off the bill. And he goes, you do that wrestling? That fake shit? I bet I could kick your ass.
Wow.
Not knowing that everybody around him knows Bill, and like everybody's friends with Bill and shit like that. So fucking Bill goes, yeah, Daddy, well, I bet kick your fucking ass or whatever, something like this. So, and I wish we gotta get my buddy Sebastian on here. He was there. He knows this story way better than I do. But they start throwing hands, and then like not these fans, the boys saw somebody going after Fonzie. Well, all fucking hell broke loose, and everybody jumped this guy because they saw him taking a swing at Fonzie.
Oh, jeez.
So it spills to the outside. The guy was checking in, so he left his car out. You know, when you check into a hotel, you leave your car there, you check in, you go park, and then you bring your bags in. Mm-hmm. This was that situation, and the guy's getting his ass beat, and he's retreating back to his vehicle. So he goes inside the car to drive away. Tracy Smothers hops in on the passenger side seat, stands on the passenger side seat, and starts punching the guy in the face like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, like do 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 do. And the guy's like, oh my god, and the guy, he gets out and the guy speeds away. So Fonzie incited a mini riot, maybe.
I wouldn't blame Fonzie on that one, right?
Yeah, I mean it technically involves everybody, but Fonzie knew I was a big fan of Andre the Giant, and I have this 8x10 in my house he gave it to me because, you know, we're good friends, but he reffed an Andre the Giant match, and he gave me an 8x10 of him in the ring with Andre the Giant, which I thought was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it was from Florida or something. You know, when Bill Alfonso had the afro, he was Afro Fonzie for a little bit there. But
I'm sure he holds that experience in the same regard as he holds the being chloroformed by Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9.
Oh my God! Look at you with the deep fucking reference. Holy shit! But and Fonzie's a tough motherfucker too. I've seen matches where people try to jump in the ring and Fonzie will hop on top and fucking choke a fucker out. Yeah, and that's the funny thing, about these refs. A lot of them are like Brian Hildebrand was pretty fucking tough too.
I remember. I don't remember exactly what match it was, but I remember there is a video out there of somebody trying to get into the ring with Brian Hildebrand and him just whooping that ass. Like, he's just like, it was no joke at all. Like, I don't think the wrestlers even had a chance to get a shot in because Brian Hildebrand's just on top of them.
He was on the guy before security got there. Mm-hmm. And if anybody not familiar with the name Brian Hildebrand, I think his ref name was Mark Curtis.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Mark Curtis. Yeah. But another guy gone way too soon. Mm-hmm. But guys like Fonzie was like a tough motherfucker. Like he could hold his own, and he took shit. He really didn't. He really took shit from nobody, And he was a leader, and somebody I actually learned a lot from too. Like I said with that one example of always change up your look slightly to keep people guessing, and that'll make people more invested in you as a character and as a persona.
And I don't remember the exact, I'll look it up what he said here. Often overlooked, an incredible character that's often overlooked. And I think that's so true. If you think back to, I mentioned him being a piece of the puzzle with like Rob Van Dam and Sabu, but prior to that, when he was with Taz, his constant movement and motion and the whistle and the loudness of Bill Alfonso was such a beautiful juxtaposition with Taz, with the arms crossed, just standing in the corner, and it was it just worked so well. And I mean, Bill Alfonso definitely you can't not give him credit for what he gave to that and what he gave to Sabu and Van Dam and what he gave to that feud when he jumped ship. When he jumped from Taz to Sabu, that was a monumental moment in that feud. So I do think he's overlooked a lot in the.
Who can stop the path of rage? Who can stop the path of rage? Who can stop the path of rage? Fonzie Fonzie throwing a headlock on the top rope, blowing the whistle, and just fucking going ape. He was like Taz's Don King or something like that.
He was just great,
dude. He was the whistle. Hearing it every night could be a bit much. But then again, he's doing his job because, if you could work the boys into a fever, you could work the fans into a fever, I guess. I don't know. But
But that was reminiscent of like the Jimmy Hart with the megaphone, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, he had the word that comes to mind is frenetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
He was just this frenetic ball of energy that was bouncing around ringside, where I think, I mean, Taz would have been successful anyway. Talent, promos, stuff like that. But I think Taz was like the bow on top of that package. So
it just meshed so well.
And then, like this, how do they had the big, at Barely Eagle, they built up the Taz Sabu match for a year. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's it. They had the match. What do you do to have another issue to carry on that feud? Like I said, me and Nova are working FBI every night, and we're having fun matches. What can we do to have another issue to keep it going? So I proposed them just jumping us, leaving us laying bloodied. Mm-hmm. And with that, we wound up having a whole nother couple months worth of matches. So with Taz and Sabu, that match, they had the year build up. They have this match on our first ever pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what? Let's have Fonzie turn on Taz, join Sabu and Rob Van Dam, and that just breathed life back into the feud for however long that was after that. It was brilliantly done. Mm-hmm. And Fonzie was the catalyst for keeping that feud going.
Yeah. You mentioned Barely Legal. And that brings us to a great question right here from @PocketSpore420. Phenomenal name. Memories of Barely Legal?
Oh, man.
Where do you even start with that, right? You've got to have a ton of memories from that.
Just the whole build-up, man. And just the roller coaster ride building up to Barely Legal, because there was always this carrot that was being dangled that we're eventually going to do pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And, Paul's always talking about we're going to do pay-per-view. That way we can, expand our audience, make more money, all that good stuff. And then there was an initial date set that we were told in a locker room meeting. And then, unfortunately, the whole mass transit thing happened. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to dive into that. I've said what I have to say about that until I have to say it again. But
you can just direct people from now on. Anytime you do a shoot interview or anything, you can just direct them to whatever episode that was.
Yeah.
Remind of the meanie.
Yeah, there was no winners in that situation. But that got us shut down because some of the sheet writers went and stooged it off to the cable company that was going to sign us. Oh, did you know about this? So some of the, there's reporting in the news and then making the news happen. So that being said, the pay-per-view was off for a second. And thank God for Tony Lewis and the folks at Strictly ECW, which strictlyecw.com was a ECW fan site, not affiliated with the company at all. It was just straight up wrestling fans, ECW fans, wanting us to succeed. And it was Tony Lewis, Buck Woodward, Mike Johnson, and a few other people. I apologize if I forget names here. And the same group of people wound up helping me when I got my release from WWE the first time. They started a Save the Meanie campaign, which Vince Russo told me they gave out WWE's emails and phone numbers to say, hey, we want the Blue Meanie back. And Vince Russo straight up said they shut down the email service. They were just inundated with emails and calls. So, that helped Vince go, he raised an eyebrow to that and was like, maybe we'll give him a second chance. The Strictly ECW dudes saved ECW's pay-per-view. And when we announced the pay-per-view, you know what? Go on, if you're listening to this, go on the High Spots Network. I've put over this documentary before and I'll put it over it again. It's streaming on the High Spots network, called Barbed Wire City. Is one of the most underrated ECW documentaries there is.
It's really good. I've seen it. It's really good.
And I call it the hardcore trilogy. It's there's 3 ECW documentaries. All are great and all come from different points of view, and all are great companion pieces. And the funny thing is about Barbed Wire, I know you asked me about Barely Eagle, but this is getting back to that.
Hey, it's Mind of the Meanie. This is just because it's an AMA. This is what everybody wants. We want to dig. One question digs into so many answers. It's awesome.
My thoughts are just a fly bouncing around in a mason jar. It's just just trying to get out. Barbed Wire City. They actually started filming that before ECW closed and all this stuff. But in what was I saying? Barbed Wire City. They show a clip because they licensed a lot of footage from RF Video, who has all the fan cam footage. You know, when ECW announced in Queens, that we were going to do the ECW Barely Legal, and he said there's one man to thank. Paulie pointed out Tony Lewis in the crowd. Awesome. And he said him and Strictly ECW got us back on the pay-per-view, and Paulie got out of the ring and gave him a big old hug, and they, and this actually I think made it to ECW TV too, because there's the fan cam footage, and then like you see the ECW TV cameras there, focusing in on Tony as well. And Tony and Strictly ECW saved the pay-per-view, and then from that point it was on, and then how do we promote this? And that's when I said the story before. I'm sitting at home, sitting on my floor watching Monday Night Raw, and Paulie calls in the Raw, and back up. There's a fan in the crowd at Raw holding an ECW sign, and Jerry Lawler rips it up. He, cuts a promo about ECW. However long later, Paulie calls in. How dare you, and issue a challenge, and then Jerry Lawler goes, you're going to show up next week. Who are you going to bring? The Blue Meanie? And I'm just sitting at home going, what the fuck? Yeah. Thank God I wasn't drinking anything at the time. I probably would have missed my TV. But it's like, yeah, what the fuck? And then we go to the show the next week at where I want to say we're in Jim Thorpe, but wherever our show was that next week, Paulie pulled the BWO aside. He pulled certain talents aside, say, you're booked this Monday for Raw, and then we all I was like, thank you, and then we got all the information, and like I said, we all pulled up to Tommy Dreamer's house the morning of ECW invading Raw, and it was like eastbound and down. It was like the Cannonball Run. We're all driving down to the Manhattan Center to promote Barely Legal on WWE TV. So
it's funny when you've told that whole story on the podcast before, and I remember my brother telling me when he was listening to it, saying he's like, that was one of my top favorite memories in wrestling of all time, was the ECW invasion on Raw, and he loved hearing the behind the scenes. Not to cut you off from any more behind the scenes you're going to share, but I just wanted to bring that. I don't think I ever even told you that off air, but I mean, it was one of my favorites as well, and I think that it was so, for people who have only heard about it or seen it years later or watched these documentaries but didn't experience that live, man, what an amazing, and again, I'm sorry for interrupting with this, but I think about,
it's a conversation.
I know, but I think about that invasion, and it is one of my favorite memories. It was just so cool to see ECW show up, and to see the BWO show up that night.
And to think about how long Raw's been around, and they always do these top Raw moments, and that's up there with one of them. You know, it's at least in the top 10 of like ECW showing up on Raw, and
if it's not, it's revisionist history.
I wish, you know, how like they do that thing where they record people reacting to stuff. I would love to be on the fly on the wall of the house of somebody who's never heard of ECW, seen ECW, and just watch this happening on their television, like, you know, just to, you know, be a fly on that wall and see.
You know what was interesting though, with when you guys showed up, ECW, for as much as people would think back to ECW as this like dark, gritty, you know, product of wrestling, when you guys showed up, you were very colorful. Like literally, I mean, very colorful, be it the BWO or Taz coming out there with the orange, or the Eliminators coming out. They had, you know, like, the Dudleys with the tie-dye. Like there was really, so I always like thought like, oh man, what would people be thinking if they'd never heard of ECW? And here comes the, you know, the real hardcore, but you showed up and the characters were so, I've always felt that people, you know, after ECW went out of business, there were so many companies that tried to be the next ECW, and all they ever tried to be was the blood and guts of ECW. Right. And they missed that. I think what made ECW so big was that they kind of almost tricked you into not realizing that they had the over-the-top characters that the WWF had. Like they had that presentation, and then they had the other stuff merged together. And I think people sometimes sleep on the fact that ECW was so unbelievably character driven, in my opinion.
And I'll say this, like I hear people talk about ECW, some well-known people who might have their own podcasts, you know, talk about ECW as blood and guts and blah, 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 blah. I was there for 3 years, and I think a lot of people see the sizzle reel of ECW, you know, the commercial of ECW. They didn't show all their matches. They covered up the weaknesses and all this stuff. Well, no, ECW still had home videos to sell. You know, if you wanted to, you know, we put matches on TV, but we didn't show the whole match because we wanted people to still buy the VHS. Mm-hmm. That's, I mean, why give it away for free?
Yeah,
we're giving you the highlights, and you know, that's another thing that makes no sense.
Hey, if you were not a real fan, or you're lying to yourself, if you did not at one point sit there and go, I should really buy that thing of the night that Kimona Wanalea danced atop the ECW arena, I will never forget that commercial, because they made you just go like, I don't know what happened or how much of her clothing came off, but I feel like this is something that I need to check out. Yeah.
Okay, here's a little inside baseball on that thing with the Kimona dancing on top of the ECW arena. Anybody who's seen it, you watch it, and then somewhere during the course of her dancing atop of the ECW arena, you see, because that wall behind her is all drywall, and there's like some of the boys, you know, punched holes in it so they can stand behind the drywall and watch the matches without people going, hey, I'm over here. So a hand comes out through the drywall with $1 bill for Kimona, you know, tipping her for the dance. That was Scotty Riggs from WCW.
Oh, wow.
Who came by. Scotty Riggs was at the ECW arena that night. He came by to watch the show. I don't know why he was in Philly. Maybe it was just him and Raven were boys, so maybe they're hanging out. So that night at ECW arena, fucking Scotty Riggs, who's under contract at WCW,
shows up as a hand model.
He sticks his hand through and fucking tips Kimona Wanalea while she's dancing on top of the ECW arena. I just had to get that thought out of my head.
Can I tell you, I don't know how old I was by the time I realized Kimona Wanalea, like what that, I was like, oh, I guess that's not really her name. And I put it together and I said it, you know, fast a couple of times. I was like, oh man, I felt pretty stupid, but I was pretty young, you know, when that stuff was going on. Young, impressionable youth. And
that was, you know, I want to say they got it from Wayne's World when they're like, when they're doing the, hey, we're in Delaware. Yeah. Hey, we're in Hawaii. And there's that scene
Oh,
where they're
the
like,
Hawaii one.
yeah, come on, you want to lay me? He says come on, you want to, whatever he says before that, and then Mike Myers goes, come on, you want to lay me, or whatever.
Dude,
Come on, I want to lay ya.
I don't think I ever got that. I am a huge Wayne's World fan, but I was a young kid, and some of those things went over my head.
Yeah, like I said, man, Raven was brilliant for that, for just using outside influences.
Yeah.
Like, the Dudleys being taken from Slapshot.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kimono Wanalea was from Wayne's World. And then he gave Balls Mahoney the name. He was supposed to be like the last name Mahoney from, what's his name? Steve Gutenberg's character, Mahoney. And just Balls Mahoney. Yeah.
Because he had just seen you in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's a good thing me and Nick Foles were never a tag team. We'd be the most destructive tag team. Me with my balls and Big Dick Nick, man. But
but Raven also, his character at that time period, he was coming up with all these things for other people, but he just tapped into that grunge rock, Nirvana, that time period, that Kurt Cobain, he just tapped into that and he just felt so real. He would sit there wherever the stairs or wherever it was where he'd cut his promo, and he just felt so real. It was one of those things where, I remember telling Taz one time that, like, I used to, when I would watch Taz, he was one of those guys where I'd go, okay, yeah, I know what's going on in wrestling. I get what's happening, but oh shit, Taz is going to kill you. And like Raven was one of those where you're just like, you would just feel as a fan, like, it's not so much a promo as it is some dude who's really just going through some shit, and like, he just did such an amazing job with that character, an amazing job just, providing people like yourself with a name or a character, something that just worked for them.
Raven was just a student of the game. He was a fan as a kid, growing up in Florida. He would go to Florida Championship Wrestling, and then, he got into business. He started at the Monster Factory, and then worked Memphis. He worked Portland. He worked all these different places, had all these different influences. Like I said, when you break into business, you're truly not one person student, but you start somewhere, and then you're like a snowball. You accumulate knowledge as you roll down the hill. So, he's always been a student of the game.
But back to, since I took you for a ride around town, but back to Barely Legal.
Before we get back to Barely Legal,
no, that's fine. If you have some,
I'm a little parched, so I got my seltzer here. Hold on.
There it is. So I have been drinking, and then I want to know what you're drinking right now. I have from Panera Bread. I have some black iced coffee.
Me and Mrs. Meanie call it Pantera bread.
Dude, so I was a part of a web series for a number of years, and actually, to pat myself on the back, I was nominated for an AEW TV award for Best Male Performance in a Comedy, but it's neither here nor there. But since you brought it up, but in that show, there was one thing where my character, who was in real estate, just like in real life, and was supposed to wrote the wrong thing, and it was Pantera bread, so that was something that I think of that because of that script. I think of that all the time when I go to Panera, but so that's kind of funny. And I just managed to be able to shoehorn a way of getting myself over. But I have my seltzer as well. So while I crack this open, why don't you tell us what you're drinking today?
I am. One day I'll eventually get this fucking name down. It's Pure Aqua, Bellevue, and it's passion fruit.
Ooh.
So my fruit is very passionate with my seltzer here. Oh, shout out to Bill Wiles too. ECW Bill Wiles, Bilvis Wesley. He was Boogaloo Bill Wiles with me and Nova for a little bit. He texted me. Not only did he go out of his way and buy a Mine and the Meanie shirt, thank you very much.
Which
you didn't have
awesome.
to do that. I would just gave you one, but thank you. I love you. He texted me this morning going, yeah. And he sent me a photo of him holding his seltzer. He's like, you guys turned me on to seltzer. So,
oh man. And that is so awesome.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm having a black cherry vanilla, which I think I may have had on air before.
No.
I don't know. Black cherry vanilla. It's delicious though.
Dude.
Yeah.
What brand is that?
It's Wegmans. I really, I just go to
fucking Wegmans.
Well, so the thing is, that's where we do our shopping at Wegmans right down the street. And ever since the apocalypse started and my wife being pregnant, I have been doing all the food shopping because I just didn't like the idea of her being,
right.
Not that makes any sense. It's like I'll go catch the coronavirus and bring it home to her, but
And then the baby comes out like in Spaceballs. Hello, my baby. Hello.
So now that I used to always just say to her, like, she would pick up some seltzer and she was always just like, she's the one who got me into it because I hated seltzer. And we talked about this once before where it was like, I was doing the keto diet, which was just brutal. But the one thing that I kept from there was I stopped drinking. I used to always have like a Coke Zero or something like that. I stopped drinking that and started drinking seltzer. And now, like you had mentioned before, they've come out with, there's like a million. I tweeted out a picture of this whole selection at Wegmans.
I almost flagged it as porn.
Oh man. Yeah, it was, yeah, I wanted to quote something, but I was just stealing it from the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I was just say it was HARD as soon as I saw that. But that's theirs. They have their merchandise.
Hey man, we love those guys too.
Oh, they're awesome. But yeah, so black cherry vanilla is what I'm drinking here. I'm trying. We talked about this on yesterday when we were recording. I'm trying to have something new each time, and I feel like this is going the way of my ties, where I wanted to have a new. What's
I
that?
don't appreciate the pressure, man.
No,
you're putting pressure on me to
putting pressure on myself too. It's terrible. No, you know what? When I started doing the Pro Wrestling Report, which because of the baby coming, I'm taking a hiatus from that. So if anyone's listening and watches that, there's no heat. We didn't have a falling out. I just told them that it's scheduling is getting tough because I have to help get my kids to bed and stuff. But I love doing that show.
Absolutely.
But when I was doing that, I was doing it every week. And my first thought was like, oh, that's great. I got all these ties I never wore. This will be fun. And then it was like, 6 weeks later, I'm like, dude, I'm out of ties. I'm going to have to start recycling. And I feel like that's what I'm doing with the black cherry vanilla here. Like, I'm pretty sure this has made an appearance before. And if it hasn't, I'm sure it will again. So
you're doing the Bill Alfonso method where you kind of have to do something a little different each time. So people go, huh.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Exactly. But, we got to get Bill Wiles on here sometime. He was, not only did he wrestle in ECW, he did ring crew, and he's got stories.
And that's what we want. We've talked about never wanting to have guests. We want co-hosts.
Not co-hosts.
Yeah.
Not guests.
We will definitely do that. And I think the first time that we will do something like that is going to be when we hit 500 subscribers on youtube.com/MyIntoTheMeanie. So if you're listening to this, go subscribe. All you need is, I think, like a Gmail account. So even if you're like never on YouTube but want that, go on there because you're gonna want to watch this. We've got a lot of fun ideas and a lot of people who can pop on for a little co-hosting segment or two on the show. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. But barely legal, Meanie, because we're 47 minutes in or something, and I think this is the second question, which is awesome. This is what I was hoping was going to happen.
And my apologies to the guy who answered the question. He's like, yeah, seltzer, fucking great. That's just what I wrote in for.
Yeah, he's like, I asked about barely legal, and somehow I'm learning about different brands of seltzer.
These fucking douchebags are talking about seltzer.
I will say, if
not barely legal, seltzer, man, seltzer.
We're talking about seltzer.
We're talking about seltzer.
Seltzer. Well, come on, we're talking about
not beer, not coffee.
Seltzer.
But we're talking about seltzer.
And now anyone who's like not a Philly sports fan is listening to this going, the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, today's the anniversary of Iverson stepping over that dude in the NBA playoffs. So, seltzer. Talking about fucking seltzer.
The playoffs were, that 2001 I had mentioned before, that was my senior year of high school. And that was like, dude, we would just get together every game. We had our rally towels, which I actually found my rally towel in my basement like 2 days ago. I was looking through a box for something, and there was my Sixers rally towel.
Awesome.
But yeah, so anyway, barely legal, which has been
barely answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That weekend was. I mean, we're excited, but we were nervous. And thank God I got a chance to do that Monday Night Raw, because I got a feel for live TV. I've been doing TV, but it was recorded and trimmed for time. So you had to, we're now in the business of sticking to our time cues, I mean, we never really broke them, on shows and stuff like that, but
did the fact that
TV's a whole different animal.
Did the fact that you had done Raw right before help in any way? Because I know, like, for me, there have been times, I did that live Fight and Focus for AEW Dynamite with all like the AEW talent before, like 2 hours before their debut Dynamite show. And that was probably the most nervous I have ever been doing something. Yeah. But what came from that is every interview, anything that I've gotten a little nervous about beforehand, since then, I have been able to just kind of like in my mind go like, this is not as nerve-wracking as doing this live, before one of what could go down in history as like one of the biggest nights in wrestling and all, So that has always helped moving forward. By the time you got to Barely Legal, the fact that like, was there any party that was just like, hey, I ran out and did a segment on Monday Night Raw for the WWF. I can handle this. I could was there any of that thought, or were you still just like, nope, I'm nervous as all hell with this?
Oh, I was still nervous, but it did help. When we did Raw, like I said, we were waiting to do our entrance, and we're standing there in the command center while they're doing the show live, and they're like, who are these three dickheads behind us? We're like, hey, we were told to stand here, blah, blah, blah. And, that whole night at Raw, I just stood at the monitor and watched and, learn, trying to pick up pointers and tips on. I stood there and watched them do live promos backstage and shit like that. They might have done one with The Undertaker during one of the matches and something like that. They had the makeshift promo area. I tried to sit there and watch everything. It was a while before I even got changed, because once we watched the show, we went and did our part. I went back and watched the rest of the show, just trying to take notes, mental notes. And go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting this poor guy who asked this question. But you keep making me think of different things. Just before we get to Barely Legal, being backstage there versus, and I'm sorry if I asked this on the other episode, I don't remember. We don't remember anything we talk about on this show. But how different was the production and the backstage environment from that first experience with the ECW Invasion on Raw to when you then signed with WWE or WWF and you were on Raw, to then your like return in 2000, I want to say 2005 to WWE. I think you were on SmackDown though for that, but still the same idea. Like what, obviously there's the change from being in an arena versus being in the Manhattan Center, but like you had the opportunity to be backstage and watch these shows being produced at very different times in wrestling, from the early days of Raw to the prime Attitude Era of Raw, and then to the, Ruthless Aggression Era, which I guess is what they're calling it now. Were there a lot of differences?
I would say when we went there for Raw, ECW Invasion of Raw, and then when I went back in the Raw was 97. And then I went back. I signed with, it was 97. Fact check me, please. And then I signed with them in 98. It was basically the same.
You know what? 97, when I think about it, it feels earlier because they went back to the Manhattan Center.
Right.
So it feels like that was so much earlier.
Yeah. And then when I went back in 2005, it was a bit different in the fact that if a typical day at WWE TV, like 97, and then when I went back in 98, it's just basically, if they had something that the arena was basically empty. They had the Titantron going, and they would run just test videos to make sure everything was working and stuff like that. Or if they had to do promos at ringside, like I remember Big Show doing a promo in the stands when they were doing the Boss Man angle and saying his father died of cancer. They emptied out. They had everybody quiet, and he filmed that up in the seats or something like that. But for the most part, the arena was just. I mean, it was. The same. It was run the same. Went back in 2005. They would do like a literal the show run through, where like, all right, segment 1, we're going to do this, and people would have just a walkthrough of stuff like a TV show where hit your marks kind of thing. Where like, all right, we'll do this with that, blah blah blah. Because like when I did the whole JBL thing, when I came back. We did a walkthrough where we actually came out of the limo and came out, and
oh wow,
JBL said his thing, we said our thing, and stuff like that. So, and at One Night Stand, that's the funny thing is like, we kind of did a run through of that whole thing where the guys face off with each other and stuff like that, and 2005 it seemed a little bit more, and I hate to say it's rehearsed. Back in the day, people were like, "Oh, wrestling's fake. They rehearse," and then when it wasn't, but eventually it grew into this thing where it became it became the urban legend that it never was. You know what I'm saying? There was never scripts. There was bookers, and you guys called it in the ring, and now flash forward, there's scripts and people are practicing in the ring. Right. It's like, son of a bitch. They talked it into existence.
And like, I know, I don't know what, I think it was BR Live. They showed Moxley and Brody Lee walking through their match.
Yeah.
Prior to going on the air, they I guess did a test feed, and the two of them are in the ring just walking through their match. And that's, I mean, thank God it's 2020, because something like that could have killed the business, 20 plus years ago. But
which is ironic, wasn't Stossel on 2020 exposing the business?
Yep. So, oh man, this is like an Illuminati thing, right? Isn't that like where everything's all tied together? I don't really understand. I don't understand the Illuminati, but and I think that's a good thing. But no, that's, conspiracy theories here. So anyway, I'm going to lay out and let you talk Barely Legal. I have one more Barely Legal question that I'm going to ask at the very end of you answering.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Dude, we were just so nervous. Like I said, that Raw helped. But I mean, there's still nerves. If you watch that BWO entrance, I'm like, I look like I don't think Red Bull wasn't a thing back then. At least I don't think so. Don't fact check me.
I think it was cocaine. For the most part. Yeah, that was. I'm kidding.
The world's fattest cokehead over
here.
Right. Thank God I never did that shit. But yeah, I looked like I was out of my mind with all this energy, and everybody was just amped up, and there's a lot of nerves too, because first time live, sticking to time cues, and I've told the story. We're out there ringside, and there's a point in that three-way dance with Stevie, Terry Funk, and Sandman where Todd Gordon comes out. He's like, "Tell him to go home. Tell him to go home. We're running out of time. And he's like, And you see Rocky, Bob Ortiz's brother, on the headsets, trying to, give him a little Iggy, like putting a pen in his mouth or wiggling his tongue, like, go home. And you see me, like, I kind of switch positions at ringside a couple times because I'm trying to lean in, going, we're running low on time, take it home, and stuff like that. Because everything was just like free form before, and if it went a little long, they fixed it in post. But and then that there was a whole weekend with the Terry Funk banquet the night before, and I had a moment where, and I have to apologize. Well, I apologize to the guys already, but at the Terry Funk banquet the night before, I was there, and I guess they were going around to different guys. Hey, did you want to say something about Terry? And Joey goes up, hey, you want to say something about Terry? And I just kind of froze. I was like, me? Me? Say anything? Who am I to say anything about, my position was, who am I to say anything about Terry Funk? He's Terry fucking Funk. I mean, the man's a legend. And here I am, like some schmuck, gonna 2 or 3 years in the business. I'm gonna say something about Terry Funk that hasn't already been said, or, I felt self-conscious. Right. That's my point. So we go up there as the BWO and at the Terry Funk banquet the night before, Barely Legal, and Stevie said something, and then Nova said something, and this is on. I think this is online. But then they go to walk away because I had said I didn't have anything to say. And then I went, oh, shit, I'm just going to say something. So I walk up to the mic and they start walking away. And then they walk back. And I kind of felt bad because I think I made them look bad. But I kept it short, simple, sweet, and, gave my thank yous to Terry.
And on that night, Nova vowed to get you back one day.
Nova, the fucking goddamn Cowboys fan. Dude, Nova is a Cowboys fan, and its identical twin brother, Donnie B, is a fucking Giants fan. So I would love to have been in that house on a Sunday watching them watch football.
Can I tell you a fun story?
I've seen them punch each other in the face over Super Fire Pro Wrestling. I can't imagine what they would do. On a Monday night football game, Cowboys Giants or whatever, and then it's Nova lives in Louisville and Donnie's in Jersey, and anytime the Cowboys and Giants play each other, we call it the Bucci Bowl. Mike Bucci versus Don Bucci, and there's photoshops and everything like that. And
so, if I can just, again, I promised I wouldn't interrupt, and I don't know why I said that because now I'm breaking that promise. But a funny story with them. So I had worked on I had met Nova a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I said, he probably wouldn't even know me if he tripped over me, but I had met him a couple of times. And it was not long before a show, I want to say it was like PWF or something, Steve Carino's thing that he had going on.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And so that was actually I went to that event, and that was actually the event where Bill Apter took the pictures that ended up in the WoW magazine that ended up in the Raw video game. But I'm in the event, and I go over and I look out of the corner of my eye. I go, oh, it's Nova. I just saw Nova not too long ago. I'm going to go up. I'm going to say hello. At this point, I was training to be a wrestler. So I'm like, I'll do what you do. You go to the boys. I went over to him and I said, hey man, it's great. I was like, hey Nova, great to see you again. And he's like, oh, I'm not Nova. And I'm like, all right. And I just kept going all right. He's like, no, I'm not Nova. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I got you. I'm like, well, it's good to see you again. He's like, no, dude, I'm not Nova. I'm like, I'm his twin brother. And I'm like, all right, man, sounds good. I'm like, and I'm like, I'm not really getting the joke, but all right. I guess Nova's just messing with me. 100% Donnie. Not Nova at all. And
big 80s.
And
we were going to bring in Donnie B to WWE just because when BWO was in back 2005 when I went back and we're doing the thing, Nova's working shows as Hollywood Nova, and then he'd clean up and come back out as Simon Dean.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to try to, talk him into Donnie B come in and throw in the
awesome.
throw in the Nova gear and just to have an interaction between Simon Dean and the BWO or something like that.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah, identical twin brothers that like.
I honestly had no idea. I did not know he had one. And I remember it wasn't even that show. It was like a few weeks later, I was at training and talking and telling somebody about, I was at the Wild Smoke Training Center and telling somebody about like, oh yeah, and I saw Nova again. Cause I think I had seen him at, maybe it was like a WXW show or something prior to that. And I was like telling them and they're like, oh no, dude, I really don't think that was Nova. I think that was his brother. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he has an identical twin brother. And I'm like, oh my God. Cause then like, I was like legit just telling him like, all right, man. Like I get the joke. Well, good to see you, Nova. Like, and I felt like such an asshole, but anyway, Barely Legal, which took place 45 years ago at this point.
Barely answered. Night before the banquet. Actually, they showed the banquet in Beyond the Mat too. Mm-hmm. And then this is one of Terry's multiple retirements. Mm-hmm. And then the next day we get up, go to the pay-per-view, and it was just so surreal. Pulling up the ECW arena, and there's like a satellite truck outside, and they got barricades up, and there's fans there. Like that's the thing about ECW arena shows. At least fans would line up at 9 a.m. Yeah, because they wanted to be. If you weren't in part of Club ECW and you didn't have your, like 4 show pack of tickets for the Club ECW, it was first come first serve. So these guys would, they would tailgate from 9 a.m. until the doors open, and they're out there with their coolers and shit like that. And I live right, in the neighborhood, so like I'm running errands, and I drive by, see these guys line up. But to pull up that day, for Barely Legal, there's a satellite truck. We have cops outside, letting the walking the guys into the building and all this stuff. And we walk into the building, and we look at the ceiling. We're like, oh my God! Like we had the ECW arena. We had spotlights, but there's like 4 sets of lights on the. There's like the pillars that run from the floor to the ceiling, and they were just mounted on that. And we would put the ring in position so they get the best lighting. But now they had this, professional light trestle. Is it called?
Trussle.
Trussle.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with a truffle, which is delicious, but a light trussle, which I think Vince really helped us. I think Vince helped on that first pay-per-view as well. Yeah, he hooked DCW up with the production, the lighting, all that stuff, and he gave Paulie the breakdown on how a pay-per-view works, where like when the money comes in, it goes into like a 90-day escrow, and that's why when you wrestle. For WWE at least, you get your royalties like 90 days later or something like that. So you'll get your nightly pay, and then 3 months later you'll get your residuals or whatever. That's how it worked in WWE. So Vince totally helped us out with that, and I just remember getting there, getting dressed. And everybody just sat around and watched the monitor like it was a regular show, but there's so much more to it. It was like it was like a fever dream or something. It was like just surreal. Just like we're there, but the back's well lit because Barry Blaustein's there with the Beyond the Mat guys, right. And he's filming everybody. And you're signing waivers and releases and stuff in case they accidentally film you. And Barry's a good dude. And then, there's, like I said, I'm at ringside for the 3-way dance of Raven, Stevie, and Terry, and Todd Gordon's running around. Tell him to go home. Tell him to go home. And then, we at least get the Stevie part. Stevie gets out of there. 1, 2, 3, and then we go to the back and watch the rest of the show. And dude, it's like anticipation of, can we finish this thing on time? And not because, dude, I remember the early days of UFC. There's I was watching one of the UFC fights. It might have been 5 or 6, and Dan Severn's fighting Hoist Gracie, and I'm watching it because I'm friends with Dan, and then Dan trained for his first UFC at Al's gym, which I was basically a suplex dummy. So I was like, hey, Brian, are you trying to fight back? Oh, thanks, Dan. And I'm watching it, and they went over their satellite time, and nobody got to see the end of that UFC pay-per-view. So I'm reliving this whole movement with, being a part of ECW and knowing that, time's the sand in the hourglass is about to run out. And thank God that the 1, 2, 3 happens. The boys in the back popped because at least the finish made it, right? Or we hope. And then, they had the celebration to go in the crowd, all this stuff. And then somebody said, "We're off air," which meant everything. And then there was there was that initial pop. And then, boom, power goes out. Holy shit. Made it by the skin of our teeth.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Like, you couldn't have written that. Like,
dude, if you made a movie about it, people would be like, "Oh, that's just corny. That's corny. That's just fairy book tale stuff."
Unbelievable.
And then, what a lot of people don't know is Power's out. They came and record this, but Paulie goes out in the middle of the ring. Pay-per-view's off the air, and his voice is pretty much shot because he's been yelling the whole show. And in a tone just like this, has a conversation with the audience. This tone, and everybody just shut the fuck up. Nobody talked. And the thing, it's crazy. Like, the power was out. None of the cameras were working, so he couldn't even film it. But, he had a conversation with the crowd, thanking them, explaining everything that happened, blah, 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 blah. It was a very cool moment for just people in the house. And talking about time travel, I wish I could put my 47-year-old brain in that body and tell, because 7-Eleven, it was BW was me, Nova, Stevie, and then we had Rob Feinstein, who was 7-Eleven, which is just a rib on X-Pac, because X-Pac,
he was six.
He was six-pac at the time. He would be at ringside with a camcorder. Mm-hmm. Like doing guerrilla marketing or videotaping and stuff like that. So supposedly Six-Pac was their videographer. Well, we already had Feinstein there, who was filming our house shows with the ECW fan cams. Let's throw a fucking wig on him.
Yeah.
And call him 7-Eleven, which is and that was just a build up. It was like 6.5, 7, and then the different math equations. And we set it on 7-Eleven. I wish I could put my brain in that body and go, "Hey, Rob, go grab your camera and record this."
Yeah.
For prosperity.
And that's another thing nowadays. You'd have 1,000 different angles from somebody's cell phone.
Yeah.
Of that, and it's just, it's amazing. But man, what an amazing, that makes me feel I want to go on the network and watch Barely Legal now.
Yeah.
How, my one question that I had, and I interrupted 15 times, but my one question I had on that was, how inspiring was Paul Heyman's speech that you saw in Beyond the Mat? Was it, because Beyond the Mat was put together as a cinematic release in person. Did it have that same feeling that it had that came through on the camera?
Oh, even more so. And Paul was great for that, man. He can eat. Paul Heyman could sell ketchup popsicles to nuns wearing white gloves. Just You know, he could sell anybody on anything, and people shit on him for the way ECW ended, but he did what he could do to keep it alive. And all it took was one deal, and everything would have been good. You know, all the sacrifices would have paid. You know, everybody calls us a bunch of marks or whatever. Oh, working for free. Your checks bounced. All it took was one fucking deal. Somebody to sign to put pen to paper, and everybody would have been okay. And those people who sacrificed their personal interests would have been paid off and you know, made good on. But he kept us going with those, you know, it wasn't every show. Like, you know, but like, you know, when he had to have a State of the Union address in the locker room randomly, you know, hey, stick around, we're having a meeting. All right. And, you know, you'd leave feeling invigorated. But that night, like I said, everybody's a little bit uptight, you know, tense, just because everybody wanted to do well.
Oh, sure.
Even to the point where Bubba Ray Dudley, he had a broken ankle or a broken foot, and he peeled off the cast off his leg and had to gingerly slide his boot on just so he can have that match at he was wrestling on a broken leg, and that's how much it meant to him.
I never knew
that's
that.
how much. Yeah. Bubba had a broken foot or broken ankle, and he had to cut off his own cast to slide on his boot so he can have that match.
Jeez.
So it meant everything to everybody. And then you see that scene in Beyond the Mat where Francine's crying. It was legit. Everybody had legit nerves. Everybody was on the edge of their seats. Butterflies the size of Mothra in their stomach. You know, and then, man, just we partied well after that show.
Yeah.
That's just it. We had some fun. We definitely had fun after that show, but oh my God, it was. I mean, and it's rare. You never really get to be a part of a first in this business. You know, there's very few firsts, and to be a part of the very first ECW pay-per-view, be a part of the semi-main event, is even a bigger accomplishment. Just, you know, the same way it was a big accomplishment to, you know, get my way onto WrestleMania in my hometown and stuff like that. So just very fortunate. And that was a very special night. ECW Barely Legal, which we finally answered. But,
I'd feel like the fact that you weren't one of the competitors in the match for that, and the fact that you weren't one of the competitors in the match for WrestleMania, almost I'd have to imagine that gave you an opportunity to be able to take it in a little bit more than you would have if you were going out there and having a match. Is that
absolutely.
correct?
Absolutely. And when you think about it, Tommy Dreamer didn't even have a match that night, and he was he was our top babyface in the company. He didn't have a match. I mean, he did like a little run-in eventually.
Right, but
he wasn't scheduled for a match, and that's when, you know, the top guys want to, you know, are one of our sergeant in arms.
Yeah,
you know, so to speak.
I just feel like it was probably like a blessing in disguise to not actually be one of the people wrestling in the match for you, because you really, I mean, you're there at ringside, you're surrounded, be it WrestleMania, be it whatever, you know, I'd have to imagine you had that time to just take it in. Everybody
on every wrestling show is important, from, you know, especially that, from Paul Heyman to the people who sold merch, to the people who took the tickets, people who made the popcorn or whatever. Same WWE. Everybody from Vince all the way down to the ticket takers. Everybody plays a role, and everybody's important. Even if I'm not wrestling in a match, I'm just at ringside managing. I'm still part of the show, and I'm still learning. You know, dude. I had my first match in '94 and '97. I'm part of the main event of a company's first pay-per-view, It's insane.
And it's also, and I meant it as a really good thing that you had the opportunity to take it all in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could look at, like, I don't know why sometimes it'd be looked at like nobody looks at Bobby the Brain Heenan and goes, but he didn't get to wrestle at WrestleMania 3. He was just standing there, with Andre the Giant. Like, it's like, no, this was amazing. What an amazing opportunity to do that. And in fact, he probably got to take that experience in more so than the guys that were wrestling the matches. So, another question. This one's from Jesse Cage.
Oh, come on, Jesse.
What's the Meanie's second favorite podcast?
Yeah. That's my boy, Jesse. Shout out to Jesse Cage, which he's got an awesome podcast called First Match, which I just did, where I talk about, my training and everything leading up to being from a fan to being a wrestler. He does a great job. Jesse Cage is got a great podcast there. He's a great personality, great friend. Definitely check him out wherever you get your favorite podcasts or second favorite podcasts.
Yeah. Wherever you get your second favorite podcast, go to that. No, he's been super supportive of our show and
oh my God, yeah,
constantly tweeting things out, sharing things, having you on his show, and he has an awesome show. So
and I helped him get I helped him get like Al Snow for the show and stuff like that. So we're a community in the podcast world. There's no egos here. Me and you got to focus on is having our best show, and then if anybody needs help along, like shout out to podcasts we listen to. We did that. That just came out. Podcast we listen to wherever you listen to, and that's what it's called.
Podcast you listen to. So it's such a cool concept. He interviews other people with their podcast to talk about what their podcast is about. And it's great exposure for people. It was a lot of fun to be on. So definitely check that out.
And I feel it's helped us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he knew what he was getting into.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Because we talk and his show's supposed to be like an hour and we went like 3 hours.
We just went about an hour answering any thoughts of Barely Legal. So
yeah, but
that was my fault.
No.
So here's a question. If you could erect a statue of any pro wrestler, who would it be? That's from Jason Massey. But before we get to that question, when I'm thinking if you need to erect something, I'm thinking you might need to erect your penis. There was no way. Yes,
let's erect the statue to John Holmes.
We are talking about Blue Chew. That's right, Blue Chew. They're back. They're a sponsor. Guys, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. So listen up, BlueChew.com. That's blue, like the Blue Meanie. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know that they work, and you can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Someone wants to erect a statue, you've got them covered. Blue Chew is made in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to a doctor or wait in line, and it's even cheaper than a pharmacy. And they prepare and ship it to you in a discreet package, so no more awkwardness and no having to leave your house, which during these days, that's a nice thing. If you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Meanie, man, we can't say enough great things about Blue Chew.
Hey, in a world where money is tight and advertising dollars mean the most, the fact that Blue Chew is reached out to, this is match made in heaven. Blue Meanie, Blue Chew World Order. But yeah, the fact that they reached out and wanted to advertise with mine and DeMeanie means the world to me. It's a great product. It's a trusted product, and it's a discreet product. So, if you're down and out and you haven't been able to, perform, Blue Chew will come along and help put some gas in your tank. And
sometimes even if you can perform, but you just need that extra little
inspiration.
Yeah, just an extra little something.
Yeah, man, we've all been there, man. It's been I've been on in my career or in my life. Career. In my life.
In my career.
Back at the Travel Lodge. Now, there's been plenty of dates I've been on where you're ready to go and your tag partner's late to the building. Yeah. And it's like trying to slide an oyster into a coin slot, man. It's just like Eddie Murphy said, you got a shoehorn for this thing, man? Yeah. I wish I had Blue Chew back in the ECW days or back in my teenage days where your body's on pause.
See, back in teenage days, I think just a stiff wind could become a stiff something else. But man, as you get older, sometimes.
Well, since I'm older, it was the Sears catalog.
Oh my. Yeah. No, I don't know how to respond to something like that. But no, look, no more having to tape a wooden dowel to it just to get things going. Look,
no more using popsicle sticks, making a makeshift splint.
This episode right now, I'm not saying that this episode that is airing because I'm off having a baby is directly related to an evening with Blue Chew, but I'm not saying it's not.
Back when I didn't have Blue Chew, I would just shove a broomstick up my ass to make the rest of me, they push it out for me. Like
and isn't it nice that now you get to shove that broomstick up your ass just for fun, not to try and make anything happen?
Is it Saturday already?
Oh man!
Just pop out!
Oh God!
Teenage logic, right? Look. If I just shove this broomstick up my ass, it'll make my dick come out, right? Or if I just blow on my thumb, it'll just go like a party favor, right? Yep. Like New Year's.
Yeah.
But
get the old bicycle pump, stick that up there, and but no more because of Blue Chew.
No, you can use the broom for sweeping.
Yep.
And thanks to Blue Chew, and since you're going to Blue Chew through us, use promo code Meanie and save some money and embarrassment.
Yeah, not just save some money, Meanie, because this is what we're doing for them. At this point, we're just giving it away. So right now, if you go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code Meanie, you're going to get your first shipment absolutely free. That's right, free. You just pay $5 shipping, use the promo code Meanie, and you are getting Blue Chew, your first shipment, absolutely free. And listen, when you take this Blue Chew and you chew it up, we are so confident. That's why we're giving it to you for free, because you're going to be back. You're not going to have a choice. You have no choice at all, because you're going to enjoy that. You're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe it. Because if you're like me, everybody, look, I'm like your average guy. I can go 3, 4, 6 times, in one night. But, man, if you need that 7th or 8th go, you need Blue Chew. That's how everybody does it, right?
You have to signal to the bullpen to have the reliever come in, and, he's coming out in a Blue Chew cart right into the mound. So, man, thank God for science. And
seriously.
Thank God for Blue Chew,
And the fact that this is chewable, that you can just take it, you can go, hey, you know what? You're out somewhere, you're coming home from work. You get a call from the missus, hey, where are you? And just, I'm on my way back. It's like, okay, you might want to pop a Blue Chew. Man, you're chewing that on the way home. By the time you get home, man, you can ring the doorbell without your hands. You know what I'm saying?
Just cue the A-Team theme, and you're ready to come through the door like B.A. Baracus.
Man.
Just, like breaking down the door.
Man, I pity the fool who does not go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code Meanie. Again, that's BlueChew.com. Blue, like the Blue Meanie. BlueChew.com, promo code Meanie to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the Mind of the Meanie podcast. So, back to the question.
That got violent.
Yeah, it did, man.
Shoving broomsticks up my own ass and just,
Yeah, I mean, and look, you didn't have, just because we're on video, you didn't have to do it in front of me to show me what you were saying, but I do appreciate that.
Well, it's like I'm from the show me state.
If you could erect a statue,
Missouri. I'm from Missouri, the show me state. I have to demonstrate.
Oh man,
hold on, let me put this away.
If you so if you could erect a statue, this comes from Jason Massey at Jason Massey. If you could erect a statue of any pro wrestler, who would it be? Philly's got a spot for it. Ooh, hey now. But yeah, if you could erect, so I mean, because he's mentioning Philly, maybe I can kind of gear it towards a specific. Is it somebody who's like big time in Philly, ECW? But if you could erect a statue of any pro wrestler, let's say in the city of Philadelphia, right next to the Rocky statue, if you could put up a statue of somebody who has played the largest role in Philadelphia professional wrestling, other than the Blue Meanie, who would it be?
Man, that's a good one. There's so many things you could do, from ECW, WWE. Me, since it's a question for me and my rules, to erect a statue in Philadelphia, I will say Gorilla Monsoon.
Love it. I love that.
Basically he's a Philly guy anyway. Even though he lived in Collingswood, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He lived like 10 minutes from where I'm at right now. He wrestled in Philly, booked in Philly. Did everything in Philly for WWE, and he famously had the license plate. It was a Jersey plate, but it said kayfabe on it. Fuck. Definitely. I would definitely build a monument to erect a statue to Gorilla Monsoon, just because he's underrated. He came up in an era where Bruno was the man, but Gorilla was the man too. I mean, and forget. He had a great in-ring career, but then he transitioned into being a promoter. He owned part of WWE, and then he became an announcer.
So which statue? Is it Gorilla Monsoon in the singlet, old school gorilla with the hand out in the claw, or is it Gorilla Monsoon in the somewhat paisley blazer with the glasses?
I have to go with the blazer with the glasses.
Me too,
Gorilla with a microphone in his hand, with the cord, wrapped, in a nice little ravel,
a little loop.
Down at the bottom of his feet. Hello, folks. Gorilla Monsoon here. It's got. If I'm going to erect a statue. Oh, wait, you stop. Oh, come on, Gorilla.
Man, that's a good one. That's a really good answer. And it makes me think, WWE, they do every year, like fan access, they'll unveil a new statue. Obviously this year it got canceled, but you'd have to imagine they had one ready to go. So I wonder who that would be, but, man, a Gorilla Monsoon statue is one I'd like to see them, put up.
He's definitely he's a Philly guy, and you know what? His last on-air appearance was at WrestleMania 15 in Philly for Brawl for All. He was one of the ringside judges, and if you go back and watch that, go on the network, WrestleMania 15 Brawl for All. They announced the ringside judges, which one of being Gorilla Monsoon. Sorry, my mouth gave out on me. He gets a very long, loud standing ovation, and his ovation was so loud, so long. I was backstage and I was watching on the monitor, and I was standing right next to Mike Chioda, longtime WWE referee, who I believe Gorilla was responsible for getting into the business, because Mike Chioda at the time was from like Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I guess him and Gorilla were tight, and Mike Chioda, like he's a cool as a cucumber, but he got a little emotional and he started clapping and started rooting for Gorilla. So Gorilla Monsoon's last spot was appropriately. I mean, if you're going to have a last appearance anywhere, it was in Philly. Mm-hmm. It was a huge part of the Philly scene when they used to tape WWE TV here on 52nd and Market Street, right next to where they used to do American Bandstand. And then, he was always at the Spectrum and all this stuff. So, yeah, Gorilla Monsoon's the fucking man. Yeah.
I was in attendance. We talked about it in the past. Obviously, I was in attendance for WrestleMania 15. And I vividly remember when he was, seeing him up on the screen there and and just everybody in my section were on their feet applauding him. I mean, it was a legit, and I think in the entire arena that I do specifically remember when they announced him, all of us just standing up and applauding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you knew he had health issues too. Mm-hmm. So, and, kind of remind, I don't want to get emotional about it, but it just, yeah. And that was probably the first time I met him in the business. Mm-hmm. I met him at the WrestleMania 4 or 5 fan night. Well, it wasn't even a fan access day. It was just a convention. And I met him there, and he was so nice, so kind. And meet him all those years later, WrestleMania 15, I'm in the business, and he's so nice. Just a great guy.
I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I do have a picture in my office of my great-grandfather, who I also never had the opportunity to meet, my great-grandfather and Gorilla Monsoon in the 70s. My great-grandfather was an enormous wrestling fan. My grandfather always says that's where I got it from. And he used to, just a tiny old Jewish man who would sit in the this 80-year-old man sitting in the crowd, and he would yell to the wrestlers, and the wrestlers would ask him, should I hit him? Should I hit him? And he would give them the thumbs up. And so I have pictures of him with Ted DiBiase before there was a beard, but like very early on in his career, but it's back in like the 70s. And so it's just really cool. I've always had that, and because I was always a big Gorilla Monsoon fan, and my grandfather gave me that picture one time, so I still keep that in my office. So it's really, he was a big, awesome. Big wrestling fan.
Very cool.
This is a heavy hitting question, and I hope that we can cut this out if this is too personal for you. Sarah Whitaker at SLW Overlord asks, Coke or Pepsi?
Oh. I don't know, man.
We should cut. I'm going to timestamp this.
That's fucking personal, man.
Yeah, honestly, look, we love the Pod Squad, but
look,
have a little respect for the Blue Meanie.
I'll talk about sticking a broomstick up my own ass as a teenager to make myself look more endowed.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I guess there's just personal stuff that, I know you're a public figure, but not your entire life. Your entire life doesn't have to be on display for these people.
This is that's like a TMZ type gotcha kind of question. I don't know.
Not touching that. And I'm sorry for even bringing it up. Hey, here's a good one.
Fuck it. Diet Coke with lime. I don't know.
Okay, so
fuck, we almost got away with it.
That really cracked me up. At least we're popping ourselves over here.
Hey.
Jack Arias at Jack Arias asks, how can I become a stud muffin like you? Sorry, I think you meant to send this one to a Joel Gertner. Wrong podcast over at the 69-minute eargasm. But hey, listen, this applies. How can he become a stud muffin like you, Meanie?
Talk to women like they're human beings,
Yeah.
There's they're not objects. They're people. And if the fastest way into a woman's heart is through her funny bone, so.
And if your funny bone needs a little boost.
Yeah,
anyway,
man.
Here we are.
No, seriously. Dude, I grew up with women. I had a sister, mother, grandmother. I had a grandfather too, but he was off work and I was surrounded by, estrogen. And I have a great grasp of how women think, or how to respect a woman.
The how women think thing. You and I are going to have a conversation off air, because I am sometimes just not getting it. I'm not understanding. I know I'm the one doing something wrong. That much at this point I've learned that I'm wrong, but I still just don't know why.
Well, I don't have it down to a science.
Okay.
There's still things I'll do, and I'll get catch heat for stuff I had no idea I did.
Yeah.
But you just got to be. I mean, if you're funny, witty, fun, and just respectful. I always learned to. I was taught to hold the door open, push the chair in. Yes, thanks, you, please, all that good stuff. And. That's how I've been fortunate enough to, keep Mrs. Meanie all these years. I treat her with respect, and I respect, her needs, and I know her probably better than anybody else, and she knows me better than anybody else. And we're not perfect people, but we're perfect for each other. So
and that's what counts.
Yeah,
and accepting, and you have to accept each other for not being perfect, And if you can accept that, I think the biggest problem that some people have in relationships, to jump into a dear Josh and Meanie. But I think some of the biggest problems is sometimes you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say oh, they're putting up with something too. If you can understand your own faults, then you can respect the fact that nobody's perfect. And then you also have to accept the fact that they're always right. And as soon as you can do that, you can have a harmonious relationship.
Well, that's the big thing too, is there's times I've done things that probably terse. Is that the word? Where it's just I'll react to something instinctively. And as soon as I say, I go, man, I could have said that better. Mm-hmm. And immediately just going, hey, I was wrong on that. And then that way you gain a sense of trust to where, they know you're listening and caring about their feelings, because women are about feelings. And that's not a bad thing. I just try to stay in tune with their feelings and respect their feelings, and know when, I think they need a breather, just to take a powder and let them vent. I'll be because I got a sister too, and she's always reaching out to me and about stuff, and I listen. People need a lot of times in life, people just need somebody to listen to get stuff off their chest, and I've always tried to be there for friends in general who want to reach out. Hey man, what do you think about this? And then I have friends I need to get shit off my chest, that I have an inner circle of people that I trust, that I'm going to say this, and it's between us. It's whether I'm feeling down in the dumps or whatever like that. So when it comes to women, my whole life, I've tried to listen and also try to make them laugh, and just be respectful, and stuff like that. It's amazing what manners and respect, if it's taught and instilled into yourself, how long a ways that goes, with just people in general.
I would also like to I want to ask the same question to Joel Gertner and see just how your answers may differ in the way that he takes that.
Yeah, I don't want to rip off his gimmick. So
No.
I mean, it's Joel Gertner's the stuff,
Yeah.
I
think his answer would simply be, you can't. How can I be a stud muffin like you? You can't.
You can't.
I love Joel.
Me too.
So here's a fun one from Andy Slichter. This is at Mind of the Meanie. This is a question for the Blue Meanie. On your Wikipedia page, there's a section dedicated to Mind of the Meanie with So Says Shernoff's name as a link. But sadly, when you click it, it says no page has been made. When are you going to create his Wikipedia page?
Can I say I absolutely fucking detest my Wikipedia page because it says I'm married and I had children with somebody else, and it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, your IMDb page says it too. Remember, I went through the process and they rejected my editing of your page.
Anybody who has control of IMDb or Wikipedia, whoever can fucking edit that shit. I never married this. Whoever I didn't even bother memorizing it. He was married to so and so in 2011, and they have a child. Who are these fucking morons, assholes, dickheads that feel free to have the time just to make shit up? You know, if you want to make shit up, just go write a fucking book.
Yeah,
be an author.
And to say these things, think of that poor child too. I mean, he doesn't even exist, and you're bringing him into social media. God, just let him be.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
No,
but I have no control over it. I don't know, dude. When somebody's like, "Oh, you're on Wikipedia," for a split second, I got excited because I had no idea. What a fucking Wikipedia was. I thought it was like a major accomplishment. Then I realized any dickhead can just fucking edit it. And I've literally never
apparently not any dickhead, because you haven't edited this out of your Wikipedia.
Yeah. I've maybe glanced at it when it first happened. I went, oh yeah, that shit ain't true. And that's why they have a segment on YouTube called Wikipedia Fact or Fiction. And they have people read it. And it's annoying. It's fucking annoying. I fucking hate it.
I don't know how to edit Wikipedia, but I feel like I always go to my brother on things like that, because he just either knows everything or just looks it up and somehow instantly, I can look it up and can't find it, and he looks it up the same page and instantly is like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. I'm gonna call him and get him on that to see if he can. Yeah, he knows how to do it. But so I guess what we're learning here is that Meanie, aside from his despising Wikipedia, clearly had nothing to do with my being on there or the Mind of the Meanie. So very cool that Mind of the Meanie is on your Wikipedia. Very cool that I'm on there. I knew I was on a couple of other pages. I'm on the on Bill Apter's from the podcast I'd done with him. I'm on Jerry Lynn's Wikipedia for the This Is Jerry Lynn segment that I did on my show. But I think the answer to this would be, I guess I am not I can't really be surprised that I don't have my own Wikipedia page. But I guess what happens is, maybe since my name has popped up on enough things, on other people's things, I'm assuming maybe that just created a link. You know what I mean? Hey, we've seen this a lot. This name's popped up, so now there's a link, but nobody's ever created a page for me. So, hey, Pod Squad members, if you want to create a Wikipedia page for me, if you literally have nothing else to do with your time, that would be neat.
I know I went off on a bit of a rant against Wikipedia, but I just hate how people just put bullshit up there.
And that's the thing with Wikipedia. It really is I'm just asking Pod Squad members, I look, there's not knowing information. I'm sorry. I talked over. It sounded like something was happening over there. There's not
kayfabe, man.
I know. Well, hey, this is a video. You never know if this video is going to get out there somewhere.
Thank God you can't smell it.
We wouldn't want to, we wouldn't want to embarrass you with anything like that after, talking about Blue Chew.
Or fucking shoving a broomstick up my ass and playing it like Dizzy Gillespie and just.
Oh God, no! This is, and hey, you know what? As far as kayfabe, I acknowledge things, but I didn't quite come out and out you. Anyway, You did that yourself. No, but there's people who just make stuff up, which, like you said, that I don't understand. It's okay if you get your facts wrong about something, you think it's right, you're trying to put together a page and all that stuff. Like, that's fine. Like, if someone were to make a Wikipedia page for me, there are a couple of things that I've mentioned on here that they could piece together. I'm married. I'm about to have a third kid. Like, there are things you can piece together. But outside of that, I don't know how much of my personal life is readily accessible. But having said that, I'd like you to not make stuff up. Like with the Blue Meanie, like there's one thing where somebody's just like, oh, I think I remember hearing what Mrs. Meanie's real name is, right? And if they're like put something like that, and maybe they got it wrong because they remembered it wrong. There's another thing to just completely go like, oh yeah, the Blue Meanie is married to this person and has a child. Like that is just, what are you doing?
Right.
Like what is going on in your life that you said to yourself, like, you know what? Today, I'm just going to dedicate some time to edit Wikipedia, which Meanie and I have already said we have no idea how to do. So it's already at least a little complicated. So you're going to spend some time just making shit up about the Blue Meanie. Whatever. But no, but anyway, Meanie, get on it. Make my page.
What's the end goal of it? But there's also that thing where I've seen it on Twitter where if somebody ends a sentence with a period, which most people do, and then they type the next word without the space, it creates a link. That's happened on Twitter. So maybe it could have been a thing where maybe somebody wrote something, ended Josh Shernoff with a period at the end of the sentence, and then maybe went to start the next sentence and then separate it. So it probably created a link. So
what you're saying is the thought that I may have just done enough to have earned Wikipedia creating a link for me, that's off the table. Not a chance. Not a chance. But
let's go to the page and look.
I'm going to check it out. So what is it? The Blue Meanie Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's investigate this.
Blue Meanie. Where's your Wikipedia? Okay, here you go. Wikipedia.
Okay, I'll let you do it.
Let's see. I'm not seeing anything about you being married.
Oh, did they fix it?
Would I have maybe already told my brother to remove that? I don't know.
Because I had somebody reach out to me and go, what's this about?
I wonder if, because I know I tried to get it. Maybe I asked him when I was taking care of the IMDb thing. Here we go. Mind of the Meanie. In March 2020, Heffron began a podcast called Mind of the Meanie with co-host Josh Shernoff. Okay. And we clicked the link of Josh Shernoff. This page has not yet been created. Oh, and it says create page.
Oh.
But let me see. If I click create page, it's okay. Maybe just because I'm on my phone doing this, it brought me to nothing. Okay. Okay. Well, hey, guys, let's.
Here, I'm going to.
Oh, and you know what? The source that is cited is WrestleZone, March 23rd, 2020. The Blue Meanie starting up his own podcast. First episode drops next week. So yeah, so this was an actual. It was. I guess, hey, it was in the news and all that. And yeah, Meanie, I hate to break it to you, but I think, I don't know, maybe whoever put it on was able to like highlight that I should have a page and then just didn't, but was just like, but I'm not going to waste my time creating a Josh Shernoff page.
Yeah, hold on. I'm still scrolling. Okay. Well, maybe they think, hold on. Early career.
I'm taking credit for it being fixed.
Hey, please do. And then, shout out to WrestleZone too. They did a nice recap of our discussion on AEW and managers. I appreciate that.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
That's ask me anything.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, true or false? Wikipedia. Here's some ring names. Okay. Some of them we know. Some of them BlueDust. Yes. Brian Estevez.
That was my first match ever, and I used that once.
Wow. See, that's the thing. How is that even on there? That's amazing.
Yeah. Long story short, I was in high school and I lived in Atlantic City, and people would come from out of town. You're trying to hit on chicks in high school when you're growing up, and I was talking to this chick, and she's like, "You look like Emilio Estevez," and I'm stupid, and I was like, "Oh." I'm saying, oh, what's my ring name? I could be Brian Estevez. And I said Brian Estevez to my grandma. She's like, but you're not Spanish. I was like, well, that's the point. I'm the furthest from, I'm Irish and Norwegian and Polish. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just go Brian. And then I picked Brian. Oh, go ahead. I don't want to ruin the segment.
Next up, Brian Rollins.
Yes.
That is obviously because of your relationship to Seth Rollins.
No, well, technically, which is funny because me and him both got Rollins from Henry Rollins. So
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a name, and we're sitting around Al Snow's gym, and we're like, man, names. And I'm sitting there with Pee Wee Moore, and he had a bunch of his music cassettes there. I'm looking at, there was a Henry Rollins cassette. I was like, Brian Rollins flows off the tongue pretty, nicely. So,
yeah. All right, We've got the Blue Guy,
yes.
John Blue Lamefield.
Yeah, with WWE.
We have Meanie Grunge.
Yes.
We have Meanie Simmons.
Yes.
The Blue Boy.
Unfortunately.
The Blue Meanie. I think you used that before. And
yes.
the Zebra Kid.
Yeah. I told the story when me and Al and the students went on like a class trip to get our ring gear. And there was like you go there to get ring gear. Like you could mail away to get shit made. But they also had like a box of stuff that hadn't been paid for, or just random stuff they had made. And you come in, you sift through things. And, dude, when I went to Memphis as a fan to wrestle, there's a guy wrestling down there who had like these zebra tights and a singlet. I always thought that was the coolest look. And then I go to it was K&H, the guys who made I think they still make wrestling gear. K&H,
they were like the old school, right? They were like old school wrestling gear.
K&H stood for Carl and Hildegard. They made tights for Bret Hart, everybody. And like you go into their office and there's postcards from Bret Hart with the family all wearing his gear and stuff like that. And I saw them making like gear for Earthquake and Honky Tonk Man or whatever. And I found these zebra tights. I was like, I'll call myself the Zebra Kid. And then it turns out, I called myself the Zebra Kid, got the tights, singlet, and then it turns out had been already a Zebra Kid back in the 80s, which I was like, oh, well, But, it wasn't like a gimmick. It was just a name or whatever. I'm just trying to find my way. And so I was like, yeah, Zebra Kid. Why not?
That's funny.
Yeah. Because I was also...
You posted I'm sorry, what's that?
I was always a fan of like Zubaz too, and like that in high school, stuff like that.
Here's a question from the only JTB, Johnny T. Did at BWO Stevie ever drop the restraining order against Missy Hyatt, or does that still stand today?
Yeah, that's the storyline where we're at Lost Battalion Hall in Queens, New York, and Missy Hyatt was in the crowd, and me and Stevie go out to do the promo with Joey Styles, and we noticed Missy. Well, he notices Missy, and he notices Missy in the crowd, and he goes over and they do a promo, and Missy makes out with him, and then eventually he files the restraining order on her, where you normally as a woman would be filing a restraining order against an obsessive gentleman. So just the fact that Stevie, his character, not the person, thought was disillusioned enough to think that Missy was stalking him or whatever, and he had to file a restraining order against him was pretty funny. That's why Joey Styles always referred to Stevie Richards as the clueless putz. Stevie Richards. So but statute of limitations, I don't know if in wrestling history if it's still there, but yeah, that's funny. That popped me.
And I think that's probably going to do it for some questions here. Mainly because I'm scrolling through and I think we've asked some of these other ones, but I can't remember. Oh, you know what? Here's one more.
Okay.
If we already did this one, because I'm kind of going back a month or so. This is from Vitamin J at Vitamin JW. We may have actually asked this already. I heard you talk about your road rage issues on Casio Kids podcast.
Okay.
As a person who has to drive to Lima, Ohio for work every day, I've always felt that Lima has the worst drivers anywhere. Do you agree? And do you have any road rage stories from your year in Lima?
No, I've never talked specifically Lima road rage.
Okay, so no, I don't think we had asked this before, but
nah.
Yeah. So okay, this is our go home spot.
Well, it's going to be a short answer because I don't remember. But
awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I do. I recently went back to Lima when the first Star Kiss was in Chicago, and I was like, fuck it, let's make this like a road trip. So we headed out, and it was me, Mrs. Meanie, and Joel Gertner. I was like, dude, we're driving. I wanted to drive to Chicago. I don't want to fly. Flying sucks. And, if I was going to bring all my merch, I don't want to have to fucking check it and pay to check it and all this stuff. So I said, fuck it, let's just drive. I could bring all the merch, and we could just take our time. We have to pull over, take a bathroom break or whatever. And I was like, dude, another reason why I want to drive to Chicago is I can make a pit stop in Lima, Ohio, because they have like one of the best burgers places I've ever been to called Kewpie.
We have talked about, you know what? We've talked about Kewpie. That's what led to the Meanie Burger shirt.
Yeah.
That conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, Kewpie is like one of my favorite burgers ever. I've offered to pay people to fucking FedEx them to me overnight and shit like that. But, driving, like I said, no idea of, road rage driving to Lima. I will say it's like Lima is such like a small town that they take like smaller, I don't want to say crimes, maybe misdemeanor, whatever, more seriously, like parking. Like
they have nothing else to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like one time I parked and like shit that would be an issue, not an issue in like Philly, Jersey, whatever. It's like an issue there. Like I parked on the opposite side of the street facing the wrong direction, where in Philly you do that. It's just like, man, whatever. And I remember getting a ticket for it, and I was like, that's fucking stupid. Yeah. And like next door to Al Snow's Body Slammers Gym, they had a parking lot. And they really enforced if you're not using our bank, don't use our parking lot. And they were like, the security guards would come up the elevator. Who's parked in our lot? Like, I'm like, really? You have that much business? It's just. But the parking in Lima was weird because like you would drop all your shit off at the school, and then like I'd have to park like 2 or 3 blocks away. There's like a lot where you can park and you'd walk back and stuff like that, like this vacant lot, and they didn't really break your balls. But I just remember getting a ticket for parking, on the opposite side, like I'm going, going this way, but I see a spot on that side, so I just parked over there, not causing an accident or anything. It's just like whatever. I know this question is this answer is very enthralling. But, yeah, just parking. I never had road rage there, but I had maybe parking rage just because it's like, and there was this, one night we were bored and, at Al's gym, and, there was a student there. There was a student there from New Zealand, and I won't go into names or anything like that. But Al's like, yeah, we're getting a student from New Zealand, and we're like, it's a woman. We're like, we're thinking Rachel Hunter, is coming over. A New Zealand model. It was more like Dick the Bruiser. It's like if you took Dick the Bruiser and Wahoo McDaniel and put him in a petri dish, this was the woman.
Yikes.
And she pissed us all off. It's because, I mean, sure, you take training seriously, but you're allowed to, if somebody goofs, you're allowed to laugh, So she would get all uptight that, like, training with, somebody would, like, do a sunset flip and, accidentally get pressed so hard they farted or something. And you're like, ha, ha, ha.
Who was that somebody, Meanie?
Yeah. Well, That one wasn't on me.
Okay.
Al tells the story all the time where he was, like, staying on the top rope to do something at the school. And in our school, there's, like, these big there's a huge fan with these big fan blades, like almost like the size of a airplane propeller. And he was on the top rope, and I'm sitting on a chair next to the ring. I let one go, and it fucking made its way up to him. But the force of the fart going up and the fan blowing it back down, he fucking legit got, like, noodle legs and fucking had to, like, slowly walk back down because... Or I would, like, if we're all in the ring and I had to fucking let one go, I'd fucking fart in one corner and do the Rick Steiner jog around the ring and just fucking, you see everybody fucking jumping out of the ring like they're trying to get out of the pool in Caddyshack when they find the chocolate bar floating in the pool. They think it's a third. I would just fucking gas people out just to fucking, keep the mood light. But back to the student from New Zealand. She caused so much shit. You shit stir. And one night we got mad and we took her eggs out of the fridge and just, like, threw them off the roof of the school. And the police came. I was like, what? Throwing egg. I think somebody got bored and threw a rock. Maybe that's what caused it. But
oh man. And
the police come up to the school and they're, like, looking at us and they're looking for evidence. And fucking Al's gym, we were the top 2 floors. I forget whether it was the 5th or 6th or 6th or 7th, whatever. There's, like, a part of the school where, like, birds would come in and, like, and the cops are walking around and they find, like, this bird nest and they're like, I found the evidence and it's a fucking bird egg. I was like, dude, you just killed a bird.
Oh my God.
So Al got that call at, like, 2 a.m. That, we were throwing eggs off the roof of the school, and his wife had to talk Al into not murdering us because, Al had a sweet setup, and, we're a bunch of dumb fucking 20-year-olds, letting off steam at somebody who had annoyed us to death. And this, that's my, maybe my one brush with the law, as far as Lima, Ohio goes. The Lima law, Reno 911 had nothing on Lima law, so. And the guy's like, I found the evidence. I was like, dude, there's a bird nest up there. You compare eggs.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw that in. There's not going to be yolk all over the place, But I like Lima. Lima was fun, man. For the year I spent there, it was just culture change, culture shock. Everything's a little bit more slower there, I guess. I was used to, Philly, Jersey, and you just go there and, and again, the students had already been there. We're standing there and, like, people watching me react to certain things, and I'm just like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's Lima, so Lima, I'd love to go back and have another QP burger though. The fat guy in me,
Well, speaking of QP Burger, as we said before, that was kind of the genesis of the Meanie Burger T-shirt, was when you told that story, and I think that's a perfect opportunity to remind everybody that you can go to mindofthemeanie.com, which will take you directly to prowrestlingtees.com/mindofthemeanie, where you too can get that Meanie Burger shirt. Meanie's flexing while I'm doing this right now.
I'm stretching, man.
Distracting me there.
Sexy boy.
Yeah, that's right. You can cut those sleeves off of the heart. There's your next T-shirt that's coming. The Heart Attack Kid.
That's why I was in ECW. Me and Stevie did Diesel and Shawn
Oh,
Michaels.
right.
I'm Shawn Michaels, and they called me the Heart Attack Kid with Big Stevie Fool, and I was dancing around going, "Sexy boy." It's on YouTube.
Well, that shirt may or may not be coming to Pro Wrestling Tees, but we can tell you what is at Pro Wrestling Tees, and that's the Mind of the Meanie tee. That's the Pod Squad, which I think has taken over as our top seller. The Pod Squad t-shirt made to look like the old Job Squad logo. We have the mirrored BWO for OWD. We talked a little bit about what you could do if you have an old world dick with BlueChew.com promo code Meanie. We've got the baby in a beanbag chair. We've got, I'm just going from memory here, but Meanie, we've got some great shirts over there, and we'd love for you to go check them out at ProWrestlingTees.com/Mind of the Meanie. But wait, there's more. The Blue Meanie has some great shirts of just Blue Meanie and BWO merchandise, and those can be found at ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie. Meanie, tell us a little bit about what we can find over there.
Brand new to the ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie stores, these stylish Blue Meanie face masks, because now we're in the apocalypse.
Awesome.
I just got a shipment in from, well, not a shipment, one for me, one for Mrs. Meanie, so we can look stylish in the apocalypse. So if you go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie, you get a BWO face mask. So when you're out and about doing your shopping in the apocalypse, you can let people know that, yeah, you like DCW. And, also there's, like I said, Fred Lancello, an amazing shirt with the Blue Meanie traditional tattoo shirt, which has been a good seller over there, and I appreciate Fred for the artwork. I appreciate everybody who's bought it and stylized it for me, and it's cool to see one thing be made, and it's cool. It's even cooler to see it out in the wild. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely cool to for everybody who's going to our Pro Wrestling Tees stores and this supported me, supported the podcast, and supported you at ProWrestlingTees.com/So Says Shernoff, right?
Oh, thank you very much. Correct. Yes, that's it. And yeah, I appreciate that. All proceeds go to me. We've got some fun ones over there, and also all kinds of gear and stuff like my mugs over at SoSaysShernoff.com. But hey, we cannot forget the Collar and Elbow brand. It is the wrestling brand, so you can go get all of their creative shirts over at collarandelbowbrand.com. And if you use the promo code Meanie, you will save 10%. They have some great stuff over there. I'm a big wrestling merchandise fan. I just love merchandise. It's why I have all these mugs, because I just like anything, whether it's from our show, whether it's from my show, whether it's from somebody else's thing. I just love it. It makes you feel good. And and we appreciate everybody who has been going. It's been crazy this week. I don't know. I actually looked to see if there was some sort of sale, because this might have been the most sales we've had this week. ProWrestlingTees/Mind of the Meanie, which is just awesome. We really appreciate that. And there was no sale. I was like, oh, somebody's using some sort of promo code or something. But nope, people are just, they're buying these shirts. Like I said, the Pod Squad shirt seems to be, that's the top seller, at least this week. And, but man, we just appreciate it. We love to see when you guys are posting your pictures. We make sure to retweet them. But we love it, and we really appreciate it. It makes us feel really good to know that not only that you're supporting us in the show, which, obviously goes out saying we appreciate that, but it makes us feel really good to know you're not buying a shirt for a podcast you just kind of like. Clearly you're really enjoying what we're doing here, and that means the world to us, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to entertain you. Nobody wins if we don't entertain you. So that's kind of our goal here, is to make you, to take you out of the real world and just have some fun. And we love seeing these shirts, and I can't wait, Meanie, until we're able to go to conventions and see people in public and actually see these shirts live and in person. Yeah,
and
so
to
thank you so much.
Do a little PSA on that, or add a little bow to that. Shout out to Rod Hicks and Al Snow over at Collar and Elbow, doing a fantastic job. And like you said, promo code Meanie, save 10%. They're working hard through this pandemic, as are the Pro Wrestling Tees folks. And somebody reached out to me. They were like, "How come there's no Blue Meanie merch in the Mine and the Meanie section?" But because every dime that you spend on the Mine and the Meanie Pro Wrestling Tees page goes directly into helping us with production and all that stuff. We don't draw a dime for that. We put it right back into the show because but I had no idea until you smarted me up to all that goes into putting this podcast up, hosting it, and advertising and all that stuff. So whatever you go, whatever dime you spend at, the Mine and the Meanie Pro Wrestling Tees goes right in the Mine and the Meanie. Whatever you do for Josh goes to Josh. Whatever you do for me goes to me.
Yep. I mean, little things like honestly, you buy a shirt. Sometimes that money that you spent on buying a shirt is what goes to paying an artist to create another shirt. So that's that's kind of what it comes through. And we're just having a blast with it. So we appreciate it because it does allow us to do so many more things, and the more shirts that we sell and the more money that comes in, the more opportunities we have to do some more fun stuff for you guys. But yeah, like you said, I've got my page, you've got your page, and that's where that's where the money goes to us. Which again, don't get me wrong, definitely appreciate that. That's awesome too. Means the world to us. But yeah, for Mind of the Meanie, that's why we don't have strictly Josh Shernoff merchandise there because no one would buy it, but we don't have Blue Meanie merchandise, strictly Blue Meanie merchandise. It's all stuff that kind of has to do with something from the podcast. Because man, if you go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie, you will see you can fill up an entire page with just Blue Meanie merchandise. So many awesome things. And there have been times where we thought about stuff. We've come up with fun ideas. We're like, nah, that's more of a Meanie thing. That's definitely a Meanie thing. We'll put that on your page. But yeah, so I just jumping in on that.
Hey, and you know what? We talk about Pro Wrestling Tees. We talk about Collar and Elbow. Not only am I a part of these sites, but I'm also a customer. I just recently bought a Dark Side of the Ring t-shirt, and I just bought a Tracy Smothers shirt. I mean, I could easily go out, hey man, hook me up, like most pro wrestlers or whatever. Some, not most, but some pros will be like, I'm looking for the deal. Nah, I was like, you know what? Let me support the other pages. I went out and bought the Dark Side of the Ring shirt. I went out and bought a Tracy Smothers shirt because I love Tracy Smothers. And Tracy Smothers is on some tough times with battling cancer. So I was like, let me throw a couple coins in his pocket. So, and there's nothing better than, it's like Christmas, man. When I get something from Pro Wrestling Tees or Collar and Elbow, I'll open up the bag with my shirts and just the smell of a brand new t-shirt coming out of that bag. It's just, there's certain smells I love, whether it's opening up a fresh canister of coffee or a coffee being brewed, or I love buying t-shirts. And Mrs. Meanie has been trying to get us to cut back on getting new shirts because we're hoarders and our house is we don't have any like dead animals, right? We have it's all clothing. We have so many clothes,
as opposed to all those other people who just have dead animals lying around their house.
Well, I've seen A&E hoarders where they're digging around. Oh, look,
God,
there's a possum. Yeah, man, I love getting new T-shirts, and especially from Pro. And the quality is so good at Pro Wrestling Tees.
Do yourself a favor and get that soft. Pay that extra $2 or whatever it is, and get that soft shirt. It's and we're telling you that honestly. We've said this on the show before. We don't get a penny of that extra money that goes towards the soft shirt. That goes specifically for that higher end shirt. But just do yourself a favor, man. It is so comfortable. That's a shirt, whatever. You want to work out in that shirt, you want to just wear it around the house, you want to you hop out of the shower and you're just going to sit and watch some TV, throw that shirt on. Oh, love them. I love those shirts.
It's almost like you're wearing nothing, really. It's so comfortable and stuff like that. But everybody's having a tough time, and Pro Wrestling Tees and Collar and Elbow both have been trudging through this time, and still putting out quality products. So help support businesses like that, and tell Meanie sent you. And if you use the promo code Meanie at a Collar and Elbow, save yourself a couple dollars too. So yeah, I love both companies. You don't have to pick or choose. I support both equally, and I appreciate both companies, because without them, I don't know where I'd be right now through this whole pandemic we're going through. So I love both companies. I respect both companies, and I suggest them highly because they're quality people, quality products.
100% agree with you on that. So Meanie, yeah, I mean, we did our sponsor. We plugged our merch. We asked you anything. I guess this is time for maybe like a Meanie moment. Maybe anything else you have to say before we wrap it up here?
Well, it all depends on when this airs too, because you got Baby Shernoff on the way.
Yeah.
Baby Shernoff's in the chute, ready to fucking make the debut. The baby's in the gorilla position.
Waiting for the cue.
Yeah, and waiting for the curtains to open.
Oh man,
sorry.
Listen. I want I could not be more excited. But having said that, I would like that baby to stay in there and cook as long as possible because, dude, I am not. My youngest is 3 years old, and it feels like that newborn baby phase feels like a lifetime ago, and I just am like. I'm, you know what though? This is, who's going to make out well from this? The Pod Squad, because I am going to be sleep deprived for the foreseeable future when we're doing this show, and who knows what the hell is going to come out of my mouth. They're going to be, I don't know how, I can't predict how many times there's going to be Meanie's going to like throw up like the flag on the screen and just be like, timestamp that, dude. Do you have any idea what the hell you just said? And I'm going to be like, nope, no idea. Because I slept 4 minutes last night.
You're going to be like Will Ferrell in the debate scene in Old School where you just spitting out stuff and then all of a sudden you got to fucking hold on to a piece of furniture.
Yeah, it's going to be something. Any thoughts for anybody? We're hoping that this is going to air. Look, at this point, this baby's going to come out sometime in the next 2 weeks. And so it's either you're listening to this as episode 12 or you're listening to this as episode 13. I'm replaying it for episode 14, 15, and 16 because I don't have the energy to do another show.
Theater of the mind. Just wherever we're at, just play along at home. Yep. Seriously, though, hopefully by the time this airs, everything's good in the world. Hopefully everything is just in the world. Hopefully everybody's getting along. It's been like a hairy couple days here in Philly. Every night going to bed, you're hearing helicopters and police sirens and explosions. It's been crazy. I've texted you in private, like, man, I'm hearing explosions and stuff like that. And it's been crazy. But I love Philadelphia. It's my city. I just want my city to heal. I love my country. I want my country to heal. But in better shape than it was before. Yep. There's a wound that's been reopened, and there's people on both sides, and everybody wants to find a way to find a common ground. And the only way to get to that common ground is not only by talking but listening. And a lot of people focus not on the listening part. Everybody wants to be right, and there's people who've been wronged, and there's nothing wrong with talking about it and having a discussion. And my goal is, because I have friends who are affected by this on both sides, and people I could call friends on both sides, and I could see both sides of the coin. Not everybody's, for the most part, everybody in the situation are good, just people who are just trying to, live their life and just not be fucked with, So I just want my friends to find a common ground. I just want to, I'm there for the cause and stuff like that. Stuff needs to be done. There's no doubt. I'm not saying let's get this shit over just for the sake of getting this shit over with. Shit needs to be done. But hopefully when the wound heals up that's been torn apart in this country or reopened in this country, hopefully when the country heals, more people are talking and communicating and listening to each other. I said it before, I'll say it again. I see you, I hear you, and I love you. And I just want everybody to have a better life once we're on the other side of this. So
I saw a cartoon online that actually really had a very interesting point. They're going back and forth about, it was some person saying Black Lives Matter, person saying, well, all lives matter, and then them explaining, well, yes, of course, all lives matter, but we need to pay extra attention here because we're reminding people that Black lives are part of the all lives, Black lives, that they matter. And at the end of the cartoon of explaining, it was a lot of like different things like that, making a point. At the end of the cartoon, the one guy saying, he's like, oh, well, I'm kind of understanding this. He's like, but if I change my opinion, doesn't that kind of make me a hypocrite? And the other guy says, no, it doesn't make you a hypocrite. It makes you somebody who's grown as a person. And it ends with the guy holding up a Black Lives Matter sign. And I think that's the thing. I think sometimes people get so defensive because they've never considered themselves racist. They've never, had an issue with somebody because of their race or because of their religion or because whatever it was. So they instantly become defensive as though they're being accused of something. And sometimes I think what they have to realize is this isn't about being accused. It's about the fact that you didn't get it, that you didn't understand it. And sometimes that's okay that you didn't understand it, as long as you're willing now to, as you said, listen and start to understand. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I didn't get this. Can you please explain it to me? Because I want to understand, I want to know what's going on, and I want to help fix this. The only problem is when you say, yeah, I don't get it. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. That to me, that's when it becomes the problem. But, so that's my thought on that. And I agree with you completely with what you're saying. And yeah, man, by the time we get back, after this airs, man, just, I feel like how many weeks in a row are we just saying, be good to each other, stop,
Yeah. And like I said, this, I don't want this podcast to be about politics, religion, or anything, but just let's have some human decency.
Yeah.
Yep. I have friends in law enforcement I love dearly, and I know the struggles they go through, and their concerns are real. I have friends in the African American community, Black community, and I understand their concerns. And both sides are right, in their positions. I mean, both sides leave the house wondering if they're going to come home alive. Yeah. Whether a cop or you're an African American in America, you both leave the home praying that you come home alive. And it shouldn't have to be that way.
No.
You should be, an African American, and you shouldn't have to worry about coming home alive. And if you're a police officer, you should have the right to come home alive. But we need to have some kind of middle ground and meet. And like I said, I had an issue in high school, or not on any level like this, but a guy said something to me, and I said something really shitty back, and he kind of got in my face and was angry and hurt. And I counted to 10, counted to 20. I went, you know what? I was wrong. Fuck it. I was wrong. And I apologized. And just that apology opened up a gate to a great friendship. We were kind of, acquaintances in high school, but just the fact that I was man enough to say, hey, I was wrong in this situation, gave him a greater appreciation of where I stood as a person. Yep. And I understood where he was coming from. So, yeah, I don't want to be on a fucking soapbox because I don't want to be preachy, but, I say it. I just want people to get along, man.
It's a whole, it's the one bad apple spoils the bunch. Like that's the thing. We have seen, you can pick every race, every religion, every occupation, and I'm sure you can find someone who has done something terrible.
every crew.
It's not fair to, to damn one person or one race or one religion or one occupation because somebody else has done something. It's not fair. These are all different human beings, different moral codes and different lives, and people need to be treated as such. Right.
Every group has their quadrants of shitheads.
Yep.
One time I was coming back from Canada into the States. I was first breaking in. What was your business in Canada? Oh, professional wrestling. Are you on steroids? I was like, do I look like I'm on steroids? To which they said, please pull over. But, there's stereotypes and everything, and not all of them are right, and, dude, I've gone on enough of a tangent. We'll wrap this up, but I just want, I want everybody to heal, and I want them to find themselves in better shape they were before everything happened. So.
Well, that about does it for us here, Meanie. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. I think you got a really good one here. I think we had a lot of fun, a lot of really cool, interesting conversation. And thank you all. Thank you, the Pod Squad. This was your episode. Yeah. Thank you for asking these questions. Continue to ask your questions. # Ask Meanie. We always love to throw some Ask Meanie on the end of an episode. But I think this went really well, and I think we'll definitely have to do this again. Make sure to follow us on social media at Mind of the Meanie across the board. And while you're at it, give us a follow as individuals. We would love that. The Meanie can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Blue Meanie BWO. I'm at Says Shernoff on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to visit mindofthemeanie.com to take you directly to ProWrestlingTees.com/mindofthemeanie and get our great shirts over there. Of course, ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie and collarandelbowbrand.com. Promo code Meanie. Thank you to our sponsor, Blue Chew. Promo code Meanie. Save 20%. I'm sorry, don't save 20%. Get it free. What am I saying? Get it free. Just $5 shipping. Get it absolutely free. That's even better than saving 20%. For the Blue Meanie, I am Josh Shernoff. Join us again next time for another trip into the mind of the Meanie.
Blue World Order. The world of MLW radio never stops.